Hi guys, welcome to another video from betfairtradingcommunity.com. Obviously with me, Martin. Today I'm going to talk about lay the draw versus going for another goal. So probably the two most popular football trading markets, probably the two most popular Betfair trading strategies actually, in football, is lay the draw and of course going for another goal, or it has other names, things like lay the current score line, lay the correct score. Basically, all it means is just going for one more goal. So if it's, let's give an example, if it's 2-0, if you're laying the next goal or you're going for another goal, you are literally just backing over 2.5 goals because all you need is one more goal. Okay, so that's what that means. Laying the draw, fairly simple. You lay the draw and hope there's a goal, or you hope that the match doesn't end in a draw so that you can green up and take a nice profit. The reason these markets are so popular is they're goal markets. Okay, goal markets are really popular on Betfair with traders specifically because rather than trying to guess the outcome of a football match, which often isn't very easy, two teams, depends who turns up on the day. They can be well matched. It's a lot easier to predict goals. It's a lot easier to predict the amount of goals. We've got so much stats and data we can look back on to kind of work that out. So I think that's why it's more popular, because I think it's actually easier to predict rather than predicting the outcome of a match. Especially when you think pre-match, where you think you could have all the ideas in the world about how two teams are going to play against each other and which team's going to win. But as soon as the match starts, sometimes you can look at it and go, wow, this is totally not what I was expecting. The underdog's actually playing a lot better, etc., etc. Whereas when you're going for goals, literally all you need is the ball to hit the back of that net. And I think that's why people prefer to trade markets where really all we're looking for is goals. And in these two markets, that's definitely what you're looking for, because if you lay the draw and there aren't goals, you're in trouble. And if you lay the current scoreline, there's no more goals, obviously you're in trouble. So why do certain people prefer one over the other? I'm going to try and explain that now quickly, and just kind of give you an assessment of it and kind of help you work out which one might suit you. So that's what I really want you to take from this. Think about this from your perspective, okay? So let's get into it. Let's go to our screen here. I've got the Arsenal-Norwich matchup from the weekend coming. As you can see, if you want to lay the draw here, you're looking at laying at odds of 4.6. This is pre-match, fairly standard. Often, if the odds are closer between the two teams, so as you can see here, Arsenal quite heavy favourites, 1.55, Norwich 7.2. In a more even matchup, the draw odds will be shorter. They'll be 3.4, something like that. So, okay, so let's say you're laying the draw here, 4.6. It's palatable, right? It's a palatable price to lay. Now, let's go on going for another goal. Now, at the moment, obviously it's 0-0, match hasn't started. If you're going for another goal, literally all you want is one more goal. So let's look at over 0.5 goals. Well, at the moment, you're looking at, let's say you get the tick in between 1.05 and 1.07. Maybe you can get 1.06 here. Let's say you're laying, maybe you can lay at 20, something like that. Obviously, if you're laying the draw at 4.6 versus laying another goal at 20, or at the moment it's 21 if you definitely want to get it matched right now, obviously laying at 4.6 is a lot cheaper. So what people find is that laying the draw is a good option if you like shorter prices. Okay, so let's say we get to 60 minutes in the game and it's still 0-0. The draw odds are going to be approaching evens at that point. They'll probably be around 2.5, something like that. Now, that is such a shorter, obviously much shorter odds to lay than laying the current score line. And that's the thing. I think if you like shorter odds to lay at, if you like less liability, and if you think of liability in terms of risk, then you can say less risk. Although there is an argument that there's not less risk, because obviously when you're laying the draw, you don't win as soon as a goal goes in. Yeah, you should be able to green up most of the time. But when you're going for one more goal, if there's a goal, you win that trade. You win that. It's essentially a bet, really, isn't it? You win that bet, and the trade is over. So that's the thing you have to take into account. yes, with laying the draw, you do get shorter odds to lay at, and that can be a really good thing. If you don't want to have big liability, if you actually like the idea of trading this market rather than going for another goal, which is, I guess, is more of a bet. So if you talk about it in the traditional terms of what's a bet and a trade, you could argue that that is just a bet, and that's fine. Remember what I've said before, and I've said this a few times, is whatever makes you profit is what you should do. Right, so some people get very het up about, oh wait, that's not a trade, that's more of a bet. It's like, but what matters, right? Why can't you do both? If you're a good trader like me, if you do this for a living, why can't you trade and do bets occasionally? Cricket's a good example of this, where quite often I will just lay a team chasing a high total. I did it the other day in the England game. I actually posted it on the forum, so if you remember, you'll have seen this. And I said, England are way too short. They shouldn't be this price. They're not going to chase this down. This never happens. And they didn't even get close, but I think their odds went below 3 at one point. So you have to remember this, that obviously you have to do whatever suits you as a trader. And don't get too het up in, well, is this a trade, is it a bet? Is it making you money over time? Because that's what matters. We're here investing our money. And this is what you should consider when you're comparing lay the draw and lay the current scoreline. Test it, go through your spreadsheet and go, right, would I have been better off just laying the score, or was I actually better off laying the draw? Remember, with less liability, there is less risk of stake. Obviously, your wins are either going to be slightly smaller, or what you'll find is that you might get a situation where, let's say, Norwich score against Arsenal, and you've just laid the draw. The draw odds will probably, they might come in, depends what time in the game it is, but they might even come in. You're not able to green up at that point. And then Arsenal equalise and it's back level again, and you're kind of stuck at square one in a situation where you might just have to take a loss, because you might have gone, well, yeah, I laid the draw because I think there's going to be a couple of goals, but now there's already been a couple of goals and I haven't been able to take a profit. Then maybe I just need to take the loss because I'm kind of in no man's land here. I wasn't thinking about 3 goals. I was thinking more about just the 1 goal. So that's important to remember, actually, when you're comparing lay the draw and lay the current scoreline, or whatever you want to call it, going for another goal. If you lay the draw, try and see what I kind of like a rule of thumb, that the odds between the two teams are fairly similar. So in this situation, I wouldn't be that comfortable laying the draw here, because if Norwich score, like I say, because they're the underdog, the draw odds are probably going to come in because the market's expecting Arsenal to equalise. So you have to bear that in mind. In these situations where you lay the draw and there is a wide kind of range between the two teams, there's a chance the draw odds come in and you won't be able to take a profit. So you have to be aware of that. So one kind of rule of thumb I like is to go for teams where the odds are similar between the two teams. And that's really easy to do, obviously, and work out before a match. So think about that when you're comparing the two as well. It really is just a case of, do you want more liability? Do you mind liability in terms of if it's bringing you a similar amount of profit or the same amount of profit or more profit in the long run than laying the draw? Or do you like the idea of less liability, but with that little bit of risk that you might not be able to green up when you need to? As with both strategies, you're in a spot where you need to make a decision on exit points if it doesn't go your way. So again, this is kind of why I think going for another goal, I would call it trading. I know a lot of people don't like that; they just think of it as a bet. But the thing is, you're trading because you're giving yourself an option to get out, to exit. So if it doesn't go your way, or you're watching a game and you think, oh, the game flow is really slow, there's not going to be another goal, that's the time you just exit the trade, right? And because you're giving yourself that chance to exit, that's essentially what trading is. Like I say, some people get funny about that, but the reality is that's actually true, because if you think about it, 20 years ago, you couldn't have done that. So a bet was very simply, you bet on something, that's that. If you cash out on a bet, you've actually traded it, because cash out is essentially greening up on each side. That is all cash out is. So you are actually trading. You might not feel like you are, but but technically you actually are. So they're the main differences between lay the draw and going for another goal. The most important thing you can actually do is look at your spreadsheet, record the results, record the two, and then go, right, which one was better for this strategy? And whichever one yields most profit is obviously the one you should be using. So I hope this video has helped you guys, and I'll be back with another one soon.